The two dedicated Georgia elections workers targeted in Donald Trump's attempt to overthrow the 2020 election, Ruby Freeman and her daughter Shaye Moss, told the January 6th committee about the ways their lives were upended based on lies for simply doing their civic duty.
It's turned my life upside down. I no longer give out my business card. I don't transfer calls. I don't want anyone knowing my name. I don't want to go anywhere with my mom because she might yell my name out over the grocery aisle or something.
I've lost my name and I've lost my reputation. I've lost my sense of security, all because a group of people, starting with number 45 and his ally, Rudy Giuliani, decided to scapegoat me.
Well, now the aforementioned Rudy Giuliani is about to pay up for his lies after a federal judge ruled Giuliani defamed Freeman and Moss and is liable for damages. A civil trial will be held to determine the amount. I'm joined now by DuBose, the attorney currently representing Ruby Freeman and Shaye Moss. Mr. DuBose, thank you so much for being here. I just want to find out how Ms. Freeman and Ms. Moss are feeling in the wake of this ruling in their favor.
They feel good about it. They feel like this has been vindication, not full vindication, I would say, certainly partial vindication. There's still more work to be done. The trial phase, as you mentioned, is coming up next. And unfortunately, you can't win your sense of security at trial. So it won't be a full vindication in that sense and restoring them to where they should be. But this was a good development, and they're very happy about what the judge did yesterday.
And I can tell you that at least over here, we consider them to be national heroes because anybody who helps folks vote, I would consider that to be, other than librarians, those are my favorite people. Let's remind everyone what was said about these two wonderful women by Rudy Giuliani in which he defamed them.
Sure.
Tape earlier in the day of Ruby Freeman and Shaye Freeman Moss and one other gentleman quite obviously surreptitiously passing around USB ports as if they're vials of heroin or cocaine.
What was your mom actually handing you on that video?
A ginger mint.
We know that Rudy Giuliani has claimed that he was simply vigorously advocating for his client, Donald Trump, and that he has tried to defend his statements. But has he ever personally apologized to Ms. Freeman and Ms. Moss for lying about them?
Absolutely not. He has, in fact, doubled down on every opportunity, and we still deal with statements from him, even after the lawsuit, even after he's been found liable. So he has not apologized at all.
Let's talk about what the judge said. Judge Beryl Howell, who did rule in your favor, she said this. She said the bottom line is that Giuliani has refused to comply with his discovery obligations and thwarted plaintiffs Ruby Freeman and Shaye Moss's procedural rights to obtain any meaningful discovery in the case. Just taking shortcuts to win an election taking shortcuts to win an election carries risks, even potential criminal liability. Bypassing the discovery process carries serious sanctions, no matter what reservations a non-compliant party may try artificially to preserve for appeal. So essentially, is that saying that he just wouldn't comply with discovery at all?
That's right. That's exactly what they're saying. You mentioned in your last segment, license, right? That a lot of people feel they have license to do whatever they want. That was obviously the case with Mr. Giuliani as he was before this court. He felt like the discovery rules did not apply to him. And Judge Howell said in a very definite and certain way yesterday that they absolutely do.
He's also trying to cry poverty. The judge said the following, that Giuliani could not reimburse the attorney's fees. The judge, his claims that he cannot reimburse the attorney's fees that he owes your clients were dubious, given that Giuliani was able to pay more than $320,000 to the vendor holding his electronic data, which former President Donald Trump's super PAC reportedly paid, he recently listed his New York City apartment for $6.5 million and reportedly flew on a private plane to Georgia to surrender to authorities after being indicted there. Giuliani is, I guess, attempting to wriggle out of what he owes your clients by saying he doesn't have any money. What do you say to those claims, given that he's, selling $6.5 million apartments?
Right. The well obviously is not dry. There are resources at his fingertips. He flew down to Atlanta on a private plane just last week. So we know there are resources. After reducing the judgment to an actual number in the trial, the next phase will be identifying assets and trying to satisfy that judgment.
It still hurts my heart when I hear Ruby Freeman saying she lost her reputation and her daughter saying she's afraid to call out, have her name called out or give out her business card. I wonder if that feeling has changed since they have gotten so much support around the country. And I hope they know and feel how much people care about them and love the fact that they stood up for democracy and refused to be intimidated. Is there any sense for them that they've feel vindicated and that they don't feel that same sense of pain? Or is it still that bad for them right now?
There is some sense of vindication in Judge Howell's ruling yesterday, but at the same time, they still deal with a lot of the fallout from what's happened. It's particularly difficult to see Rudy Giuliani try to position himself as the victim, that he's being victimized in this entire process. I've heard people say often that they can't believe how far he's fallen and the level that he's fallen to. Well, he didn't fall. He stooped to this level. And it's not sad to see at all. What's sad is what's happened to Ruby and Shaye as a result of his intentional lies.
And some folks from New York might say he didn't fall at all. He just revealed who he always was. Von DuBose, thank you so much. Please pass along our regards to the ladies.